Oh man, I can't wait to play the new Doom game. Been waiting for this forever. Huh. You know, this is a bit more retro looking than they're showing off in previews and everything. A bit different than Doom 2016 even, but yeah, you know what? I'm cool with it. I like me some old games every now and then, or like classic throwbacks. Dusk was pretty good. Oh shit! Glory kill! Glory kill! Hmm. Must be missing the highlights. You know, maybe if I mess with the settings a bit. Video. Definitely Vulcan. What the fuck? Doom Eternal is the game conservative Americans and overprotective parents have been dreading ever since the first Mortal Kombat came out. And man oh man, are they right. This game is going to cause your kids to sin, make you quit your job, and even bring the whole government down. Probably not. But what it does have is more insane, over the top violence and gore than a Cannibal Corpse album cover. Eternal is no mere retread of the FPS stomping ground that Doom 2016 trampled all over. Honestly, it feels more akin to a reboot than most sequels beloved games get. If Doom 2016 was taking a college course in high school, Eternal is cramming for a final exam to finally get your master's degree. Every single aspect of the game's formula is cranked up to 11 as soon as you start. Within the first hour, I was facing off against Hell Knights and Revenants on the regular, and it only gets more insane from there. Doom Eternal is faster than your local gas station crackhead, and harder than Duke Nukem's balls. No, no, no. Not saying it's the Dark Souls of Doom games. We're not going down that shitty road. Still, this game is not a joke though. It's fucking hard. Okay, maybe it is like the Souls games a little bit, because the difficulty is relying on the player, learning all the mechanics, learning all the enemies' different roles, how they interact with one another, how the player understands all the things at his disposal. And if you screw up and die in this game, a lot of the time it's going to be your own fault for just sitting around twiddling your thumbs when you should be constantly moving around. And the game is also balanced to be really, really fair, except until like the last 3 levels or so. But other than that, it's not like Souls whatsoever. But the fact that the game starts off being insane and it's super hard and it only goes up from the start, like most games do, it's really commendable that I wasn't really feeling frustrated until like the last 3 levels. And even then, it wasn't even constant. It was just like some fights here and there throughout them. The combat experience in this game is honestly orgasm inducing, and it's intense and frantic like no other game I've ever played. I seriously needed to take breaks because of how drained I would become after playing this game for like 2 hours or so. And I mean that in the best way possible here. I really only get in a headspace like that if I'm playing like a horror game or watching like a pretty dark, fucked up movie. And while, yeah, it can definitely be draining, frantic, chaotic, it's still clear and purposeful enough to where you still understand what's going on. See, playing Eternal is like practicing a really convoluted dance. And if I knew a single fucking thing about dancing, I would give an example or two, maybe name a fancy dance, but I don't, so I'm not going to. But you need to constantly be alert and be keeping track of everything going on in your head. What kind of resources do you have? What kind of demons are you fighting? What's the arena look like? What resources do you need? And sure, this definitely sounds like it can be overbearing at times, which at times it definitely can be, but few and far between compared to how much it's done perfectly. The level design, color palette, art direction, fucking brilliant. There's so much attention to detail, and you can really just notice how much love, blood, sweat, and tears went into creating this game. It's truly a sight to behold. And honestly, if it wasn't for the hordes of demons trying to tear your face off, honestly, most of these spots would be a pretty good vacation location. Spot? Tourist trap? I don't know. The level design only takes a hit sometimes with a few arenas that were like way too small and cramped for the encounters it decided to put there, but that's kind of nitpicky and not really that big of a deal, at least in my opinion. Like, I got through them just fine. And the collectibles are so damn creative and unique. They range from toy demons, vinyl records that you can actually play at your home base, and then floppy disks, which serve as the game's source of cheat codes. They are plentiful in each level and are always a joy to discover and collect. Not to mention all the amount of Easter eggs that are in this game. Like, there's a computer you can go to and literally sit down and play the entirety of the original Doom and Doom 2. Like, come on, that's fucking awesome. And ooh boy, does this soundtrack ever make me wet. Mick Gordon returns to deliver another heavy metal influenced assortment of tracks, but this time with even more variety than in 2016. And not only does it sound good, but it's all dynamic too. The songs will shift and change depending on if you're in combat or not. Sometimes they'll be like completely different. Others it'll be like a low, slowed down version of like the fighting track. And then once you see an enemy, it'll like kick up. God, is it amazing. A lot of the songs have an industrial metal edge to them. And then there was this one track in this level where if you're not going around tearing a demon's arm off, the ambient music that played was just a riff that was so distorted. It sounded something akin to the doom metal Legends Electric Wizard would play. It's amazing. The soundtrack for the last game was easily one of my favorite soundtracks ever. This soundtrack, much like this game's gameplay overall, completely crushes the last one. And this game is super fucking well polished. The vast majority of my complaints are nitpicky at best and super minor. Like, yeah, sure, I really wish they weren't as stingy with the ammo and that the max ammo limit on all your weapons was way higher. But honestly, there wasn't that many times I was running out. And if I was, I just whipped out the chainsaw and there's usually chainsaw fuel nearby. So again, the HDR implementation is a mixed bag. Certain sections of the game looked so much better when I had it turned on. But then I would go by certain lights, like the Slayer gates, and they would just blind me. Not to mention, if I had HDR on when I was recording it for footage, the footage would look super like washed out and just grimy. But honestly, a PC game having not great HDR support isn't really a surprise at this point, even though it's still unfortunate. Tabbing in and out of this game was a real pain in the ass for me. No matter if I had the game set to full screen or borderless windowed, it was always a hassle. But it never crashed on me doing so, and in fact, never crashed on me at all. And really, I only had like a few minor glitches, which were me like getting stuck in a cage or a wall, but I always managed to like get out and be fine. So nothing like game breaking that I experienced. And speaking of like the nerdy technical side of this game, there are a slew of settings to mess around with, whether it's control wise, graphics wise, HUD wise. You can change the color of the entire HUD to like a bunch of different selections, which is really fucking cool. And the game ran like a dream on my PC. I had everything cranked up to Ultra Nightmare and didn't really have any issues. I was sitting at maybe like 95 to 120 something at all times, even in combat. And since I had G-Sync enabled, I barely even noticed it if I didn't have my frame counter on. I completed my initial playthrough of the game in about 16, 17-ish hours. And honestly, at that point, I was good. Like, the game was definitely worth the $90 I paid for the deluxe edition right then and there. But then there was still so much to do. I messed around with other campaign modes, the other difficulty options, got a few of the missed collectibles, costumes, and upgrades I missed. But I do plan to fully beat the game at least once more, probably on Nightmare, and then pick up everything that I missed, Hopefully do all the Slayer gates, which admittedly were too difficult for me at the time to do during my first playthrough. And I am super excited to see what they do with this game in the future, namely the 2 story add-ons that they promised were coming. 2020 only just started, and even though, kind of been shit so far, Doom Eternal gives me a lot of hope for how this year will go, at least on the gaming side of things. And I have a hunch Eternal is going to end up being one of my favorite games this year, which is a pretty safe bet considering that the last Doom is one of my favorite games ever made, and this one's way better than that. But it's honestly amazing, just like how good this fucking game is. Sure, it's probably not for everyone, nothing is, but seriously, I fucking adore this game. So if you're interested in it, if it seems appealing, I recommend buying it. And that's about all I have to say about this game. Thanks for listening to me ramble on about it for a bit. Have a nice day.